What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch back here with Dilly Vanilli. We are here to talk about the Honey Badger, the one and the only Tyrann Mathieu. Mathieu has been a player that we have both liked a lot, and I think a lot of NFL fans really love because of his style of play and because of the nickname. Let's face it, Honey Badger is a pretty awesome nickname.
Pretty good.
But he has had some struggles staying healthy. This past season with the Houston Texans, he was able to play. He was able to be effective for the Texans, and he was able to help lead that defense and team to the playoffs. So last season, Tyrann Mathieu played pretty well. I would say he was in the top 15 in terms of safeties. He's definitely one of the more versatile defenders that you could really get out there if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And I think the main point I want to make about the Chiefs signing Mathieu is that the Chiefs, let's face it, needed a corner, a safety, a linebacker all in one. And that's kind of what they got in Tyrann Mathieu. You know, he's not exactly a big guy, but he can play multiple different positions. He's tough enough to play in the box. He is quick enough to play in the slot, and he is smart enough to play safety. Last season, 3 sacks on the board. He had a fumble recovery, 8 pass defense, 89 tackles. So this guy could pretty much do it all. He also had 2 picks. He had an all-pro season in 2015 when the Cardinals went to the NFC Championship. He had 5 interceptions that year, and he was pretty much phenomenal for that defense. I don't think he is quite that player that he was in his 3rd season, but he definitely is, like I said, an upper echelon safety that can play multiple roles. Dilly Vanilli, what did you think of the money, bro? It was 3 years, $14 million per year, and worth 42 in total.
You know what? This might be in the top 3 of my favorite free agent signings we've got so far. You saw what the Chiefs' defense was last year. Besides that defensive line, it was boo-boo. It was not very good. They were struggling. This secondary could not cover my grandma, and she doesn't even know all the rules to football. So when you're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs defense, they needed major upgrades. They already got rid of Justin Houston, and they're going to release D Ford, whatever that situation is. But their biggest concern was having that secondary, having nowhere to go. And they decided Tyrann Mathieu was going to be the guy, and I honestly really love this signing. Tyrann Mathieu, when he signed that 1-year contract with Houston, I think it was kind of out of left field. Or like, first off, Houston didn't seem like they were the number 1 person for him, but also it was like, why did the Cardinals release him? Why did Houston only sign him for a 1-year contract? So he played really well in that 1-year contract, and you would assume that if you get a 1-year contract, you're going to stay. It's a prove-it kind of scenario, and they would have given him more years. But the Chiefs come in there, swoop him up, and I think it's going to be a really, really good game for them. Like you said, not going to be as impactful as 2015. That was a fantastic year in Arizona. But he's 27 years old coming into the season, which is still very young. He's still able to prove that he's one of the best safeties in the game. And I really like this. I just really like the fact that the Chiefs are going out there realizing all the mistakes they made last year on defense and making sure that's number 1 priority for them. So one of my favorite signings so far.
I think what you can throw in here for Mathieu is the fact that he is a pretty good tight end stopper. You know, he can cover tight ends pretty effectively. And like I said, he can just do everything that you want. So Pro Football Focus ranked him 21st overall at the position last year. I think he's going to have to play better if he's going to live up to that contract, though. It's interesting to see what the Chiefs are doing because they let go of Justin Houston and that money, and they kind of use that money on Tyrann Mathieu. I think that's a fair trade because they needed the secondary help, but let's see how they kind of just maneuver the rest of their defense, whether they spend more on corner, safety. They still have Eric Berry back there making a pretty penny, so we'll see what the Chiefs do. It's going to be very intriguing to see what they do with that defense because they're going to have a new defense with Spagnuolo being the coordinator, switching more to a 4-3 sort of style defense as opposed to their former 3-4 style of base defense. So we'll see what happens with the Chiefs, but Tyrann Mathieu is a nice start to upgrading that secondary. Thanks, guys, for joining us here for another free agency breakdown. Mathieu to the Chiefs for big money. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. It's Mitch and Dylan. Peace.